Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Going into the third hour of today's episode of RollPlay Nebula Jazz. We begin this piece with a wide establishing shot of the beautiful sandy beaches of the planet Buffett 4 of Margaritaville. We can see the neon glow of Welcome to Margaritaville. It's big like neon alien with like six boobs in a bikini, like waving for visitors to come check out the casino. There's the big buildings in the background, all glowing with exciting, luring lights. A bunch of folks of varying species out on the beach. The perfect cyan waves washing up against it, and we pan down and we see on the beach, we see the huge burly form glistening in the sunlight of our new rocky friend Dwayne. We can see Dwayne. He's wearing a tiny little Speedo, and he's lying under an umbrella. Next to him, there's a space coconut. You can tell because it's blue, with a straw sticking up out of it. And then on a towel next to him, there is a equally large, though made out of some other form of stone, sentient creature wearing a similar outfit, but with like a little bikini top. You can tell them barely apart otherwise. And the two of them are lying on the beach, and we see this. And the shot pulls back. But as it does, the image becomes grainier, and we cut out to a room where we can hear the sounds of like a restaurant, like traffic. We can hear like clattering of plates and like talking, and we see that this is a hologram being projected from a little device in the hand of Dwayne himself. He's wearing his suit. His hat is hanging on a chair next to him, and then the other rock person who's wearing a little like dress, like blue dress. And has a bow tied around her head region, is sitting in a chair next to it. And then across from them is Eugene. And Dwayne has just finished being like, and that's the last picture from our trip to Margaritaville. It was very exciting. I don't take time off very often, but boy, I'd love to go back to that place. Didn't you have a great time, honey? And the rock next to him emits a rumbling like, yes, dear, it was lovely. And we pan back to he says to you, he's like, boss, have you ever been to the erogenous zone? It's beautiful there. They got something for everybody. And he's putting away the little, actually it's gone. It's disappeared when we panned away from him. And then we cut over to Eugene. And Eugene, you're in like the equivalent of like a baby seat, because you're kind of small and globular, and so you've got this like taller.
They have like weird seats that look like a bowl with legs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bowl with some. Yeah, and so you're in the little like bowl, and you got maybe a drink in front of you on the table, and behind us we see a kind of nice, like I'm imagining, sort of like a 30s New York Italian restaurant. So it's got like red and white checkers on the table, one of those little like candles with the honeycomb kind of etching on it. Maybe there's a space Italian chef stereotype somewhere in the background doing one of these. But he's an alien, so it's fine.
I've got there's a little bow tie that is just kind of like floating right around in here.
Yeah. So he says to you, have you ever been to the erogenous zone? It's beautiful.
Oof. Have I ever been there? I've been there too much, to be honest. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but you know me. I tend to cause a little bit of trouble in every beautiful place I go, so.
What's a good name for, do we name her?
Pebble.
Her name's Pebbles.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Pebble. Yeah. So Pebble says she puts an igneous hand on Dwayne's arm, and she says, well, Dwayne says you never talk about yourself. I'm so interested to learn. He talks about you all the time. My Dwayne looks up to you, and he's like, oh, stop, honey. Come on. You're embarrassing me. And she leans over, and when she does, her elbows like hit the table, and it's like rattles. All the drinks shake, and the table kind of tilts its little anti-grav unit, trying to compensate for the sudden like thousands of pounds of pressure she puts on the table. And she looks at. I mean, it's hard to tell where she looks because her face is a boulder, but she looks at.
I know how that feels.
Yeah, right. So
no,
she
I
looks
can never
at
tell
you.
Where I'm looking either.
She looks at you, and she says, "Tell us about yourself. I'm so curious."
Oh, Pebble, I don't think that I can tell any, detailed stories in front of a lovely lady like yourself. But, to be honest, the reason I don't really talk about myself is I tend to kind of muck things up. And not just because I'm made a muck, but because, my personality is sometimes made a muck as well. But I've been given a lot of chances to do good things, and sometimes I choose the wrong thing, and I've let people down. And, well, honestly, I'm just delighted to have the chance to maybe not let somebody down who matters to me. And I got to be honest, Dwayne here, he's a good egg, and I'm just so happy to be part of your lives, to have a chance at a good life with good people.
Yeah, and they look at each other, and they're kind of like holding hands on the table, and she says,
I imagine just two rocks like against each other.
Yeah, it's just basically like they're very much like Nintendo 64 era characters. So like their hands are just big spheres that somehow they're able to pick things up with, and so there's just two giant boulders
like Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, kind of gently like grinding against each other on the table. That's how they hold hands. Just little sparks spitting out onto the table. And she says, I'm just so happy that Dwayne was able to find somebody he could connect with. You see, he puts his boulder up. It's like, okay, honey. And he turns to you and he's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, boss. I haven't had the best run of things myself. We come from a people with a history of bad luck, violence, and it was nice to be given this opportunity to work for you, and I think, I don't think I just speak for myself here, and he kind of gestures at you, like, but I think we have a connection here that goes beyond just working together. I think you're really a good friend to me, and I wanted you to know that I appreciate that you have a place in our life. And they kind of like look at each other, and like she's nodding as he's speaking, and he says, but friendships are built on trust, and we don't know you that well, and I know sometimes it can be hard to talk about your past, but you're among friends. And he kind of like reaches out with a boulder and like slams on the table. Like you're not really sure what he's trying to get at, but he just like he's just like extends his hand in your direction.
Like maybe a handshake,
or like he's just doing something. He's trying to you don't really. It's hard to say what's going on here.
I'm moved. Not only I'm not speaking as Eugene right now, but just like internally, Eugene is moved not only by the I'm glad that we're both kind of fuck ups that maybe found one another, but also that he gets to interact with somebody else where the gestures are like lost on most people.
Yep.
Like it's another person without a face. It's another person who doesn't actually have limbs. It's like, yeah,
he's
it's like kind of nice.
He's a big pile of rocks. He looks like a clay fighter character. It's very hard to read him, much as it is for you.
I reach out and just kind of like put a glob of slime like around his hand. Yeah. I go, you know what, buddy? I'm not gonna ruin tonight because it's been lovely, and I don't wanna tell any ghost stories. But
so we see the two of you just for a second as you're speaking, and you have your like gloop on the rock blob on the table, and we pan over and there's two. There's like an alien, a humanoid alien, like man and woman, orange skin, little horns, sitting at a table nearby eating spaghetti or something made out of like wriggling worms. And the man looks over and he's like, says quietly, conspiratorially to like his wife, he's like, I don't mind that they do it. I just wish they wouldn't do it in public. And she's like, ugh, I know, disgusting. And then we like pan back.
Do I hear that?
No, I don't think so. I think it just happens in the background.
It's a goof for you, the viewers.
For you.
Yeah, and he just says, I don't want to bring the table down tonight, but I would love to get closer in the future.
And he nods and he says, well, you're gonna be in the ceremony, so. And he laughs and he shakes his head and he says, I never thought I would be here, with a creature I love, and with a good friend who's gonna be there to witness our marriage. After the last great battle with the magmanoids, I never thought Well, and you can see him kind of like, he's not tearing up, but he's getting emotional. And she's like,
the rock starts to look moist.
yeah, totally. Yeah, there's just like some cracks where like some fluid starts to emerge, and she kind of pets him on the shoulder and looks at you kind of apologetically, and she's like, you know, he was never the same after the battle with the magmanoids. He's still, well, you know, he's seeing someone to work these things out, and Dwayne nods, and he's like, yeah, my therapist says that it's okay to have these feelings. And he kind of like leans in and looks at you, and he says, I think it'd be good for you to talk to somebody like that, Eugene. You seem to really just bottle it all up inside. I'm not judging. I know it can be hard.
Well, I mean, when they can bottle your entire body up, it's kind of hard not to do the same with emotions. Am I right? Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Yeah. And they kind of like nod at each other like, yep. Very profound. Yep. So yeah, I think that this scene probably, like, we fade out on him being like, well, that's enough of the heavy stuff for tonight. Let's get something to drink. And he waves down a waiter who kind of like ambles over on his tentacles and takes your order. And we fade out on that sort of gentle scene of the group of you. And then we fade back in, and before we see the visuals, we get the sound. We hear the howling of the deadly winds of Dead End, and we see Rex as the prince kind of like fades away in the background, and in the reflection in Rex's shining black eyes, we see Virgil and the princess staring at each other. What do you do, Rex?
I was compelled, wasn't I, to do something specific?
You were compelled to ask for romantic advice. But from there, you're on your way.
To show you're more than, to show more of yourself, to show that you're more than a brute. Question mark.
So yeah, Rex kind of like looks at the princess and he's like, "I'm glad you're okay. You're a hard person to find." And then he looks back at Virgil. And he's like put his hands back down at this point and like holstered his gun. And he says, "I'm not being funny, kid, but no one finds me when I don't want to be found. So who was it that showed you where I was and why am I here?"
He looks at you and he says, "I what?" And it kind of like stares at you, and he's like, "Who is this woman, Rex?"
"No one of importance. What's important is the question." And Rex produces his pistol and points it at Virgil.
And he looks at you, and he's like, What are you doing? We don't even have the bounty yet, you idiot. You betray me after we get the bounty. Come on. This is basic stuff."
"Who gave you the bounty, kid?"
And he says,
"Nobody knew where I was."
Yeah, he kind of dissembles a little, and he's like, "Come on, what is she? Is she important to Thuja? Well, let's grab her. We can use her as bait."
"Nobody's gonna do any grabbing until you answer the question."
Okay. Well, why don't you try to convince him? What's the leverage here? Is it like, I'm gonna shoot you? Because you've already proven that he's just as fast as you, so you don't really have the like, I'm just gonna shoot you leverage to put over on him.
Yeah.
You can just make a demand, but it's gonna be much easier for him to ignore.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make a demand, but I think I'll use what's yours is mine as leverage. Like I've saved the kid's life once already.
Yeah, like, I mean, what's yours is mine here is that what you thought was the situation you were in control of is actually me. I'm in control of this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay, well, let's have you roll. I think he's still in a pretty good. He thinks he's still in a pretty good position. Okay. It's not so much that he thinks you're on his team, but he's just like, no, I've still got control over this. He's gonna roll his. You're being forceful, and he's being careful, I think.
Okay.
Actually, no, he's being sneaky. He's trying to lie to you. He's
All
trying to get squeal his way out of the situation. So.
Ooh.
All right, he's sneakier than you are forceful, so we'll see.
What the?
Oh my God!
Oh.
Wow.
How the fuck?
He gets a +5 to every roll?
Nope, not all of them. He's a proper NPC, so he has a bunch of different stats. This is just his best one. He's a sneaky shark boy.
What?
So I think he says to you, unless you want to spend a reroll or whatever, you've got 1 fate point, so it's a pretty losing
Yeah, no, I
proposition.
mean, yeah, there's nothing I can do. He's
okay,
not gonna.
so
He's not budging.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna let you answer this for me. He tells you someone that is the answer is totally believable. We all know, me and you and everybody else at the table in the audience, he's lying. This is a lie. Rex does not know this. But I'm gonna, and I get to take an aspect on this. I have a GM aspect that I get. But who is it? You don't have to necessarily name them, but give me an idea of who is someone that if they said to you this person, you'd be like, of course, and you'd believe it right away.
It was a job Rex did previously through the bar. And,
like someone you've like done a bad turn for before.
He did a good turn with him, and this guy was like a casino owner, and he was like, if I ever need your services again, and I want to request you specifically, and Rex gave him the card and the name of the bar, and Virgil like drops this guy, and Rex remembers that aside from like, you know, a couple of people he can think of, the only recent person that would know of his whereabouts would have been this guy, and it's totally a believable source to like find Rex, because Rex's idea is like, if I'm in a place and I don't want to be found and I haven't told anybody where I am, how'd you find me? But he realizes, he did tell this casino guy that's where he frequents.
Right. Okay. So all right. So his name is Stalwaz, and Stalwaz is a let's get a good alien name for him. He is a Perturbian, and he owns a casino, and he would know where you were. So this guy, Virgil, we all know as the audience, and I think that like the show version of this lets us know that he's lying, right? So we see his face, he thinks for a minute, he's like, that Perturbian Stalwaz, he told me, and he says, you're not as hard to find as you think, Rex. Now, come on, this girl, she's not the mark. And he turns back to her, and he's like, where's Thuja, honey? And the princess isn't looking at him; she's looking at you.
Rex kind of like shrugs and just holsters his gun, and he like looks at her and he's like, "You might as well tell him."
Yeah, she gets a kind of disappointed look on her face and like holsters the pistol, and I think she tosses the grenade to you.
Okay.
She's just like, I don't need this, and throws it to you. Okay. And she says, she looks up over her shoulder, and we get the long pan, and we see the two. I think that this planet, I think Dead End has 2 moons that in the ancient past like crashed into each other, and they're kind of like stuck together, and they got a bunch of like shards around them. So these got these 2 moons smushed together, and so we see them in the background as we pan up, and you can see faintly a little red light blinking in the background of the mountain. And the princess says, she's up there at the antenna.
Rex kind of like turns to Virgil, and he kind of like shrugs again. He's like, I ain't gonna lie to you, kid. I was using you for a free ride. If you want your bounty, it's up there, but I ain't gonna help.
And he scowls at you. And he's like, oh yeah? How are you gonna get off the planet, Rex?
Rex kind of just like thumbs to the giant huntress ship behind him.
And he kind of like gets a confused look, and he's like, but if I'm taking that huntress, and you know that ship's booby trapped. Come on. Don't be stupid, Rex. Think of the credits.
Hey, you said it yourself. It's not the first time I've been in that ship nor flown it. Thank you very much. Now, good luck with your bounty, son.
So what do? Do you just walk away? Because he's kind of like, come on, man. What about the money? Like, you're crazy.
I think Rex just kind of turns his back to him to face the princess, and like attempting to make small talk. He's kind of like scratching his neck though, because he doesn't really know what to say to her. But like, yeah, he's abruptly ended his conversation with Virgil by turning around.
Okay, all right. I think there's a laser shot. We hear like a blast, and he shoots by your feet, and you hear him snarl like, "Don't turn your back on me."
Rex kind of leans back with his head over his shoulder, and he just goes, "Oh, what?"
He says, or the next one's right between your shoulder blades.
Rex
And
turns
he
around
says,
again.
He's got the gun pointed at you, and he says, don't think I wouldn't do it just because. And then his like voice kind of trails off.
Because what, kid?
Shut up.
Rex is not facing him at this point. He's just got his hands on his hips.
He
You got
says,
something to say?
He says, I came here to get a bounty, and you're gonna help me. And he gestures up the hill, and he says, all we have to do is take this one hostage. And he points at the princess, who kind of like looks at her like, or looks at him like, fuck you, stop pointing the gun at me, idiot. And he's like, we'll take her hostage, and when the huntress comes back, she'll have to come with us, or else we shoot her. And he points at the princess again, like, see, easy.
Rex is like, all right, tell you what. We're not going to take her hostage, but I will help you. And he starts walking towards Virgil. His gun's
Okay.
like holstered and everything.
Yeah. I think he points the gun at you, and he's like, kind of like gives you a look like, I don't
You're
trust
going to
you.
point the gun at me, or you're going to point the gun at Thuja?
And he kind of like looks back at her, and he's like, kind of like takes a second. You can see him like thinking, and grabs his head. He's like, this is all getting too fucking complicated. All right. So what's the plan then?
Oh. She's up there. Let's go get her.
And he kind of gestures, like points with the gun, and he's like, you first.
Suit yourself.
Okay.
And Rex, like you see Rex like motion to the princess to stay there, and just like starts making his way up the hill.
Yeah, and she watches after you like, what the hell's going on here?
A lot of fucking weird shit just happened.
Yeah, and actually I think when you start to leave, she's like, hold on a second. If you're going up there, I'm coming with you.
You should stay here.
Yeah, and I think both you and Virgil turn to her like, wait, no, you gotta stay here. And like you both say that, and
Yeah.
she kind of like scowls, like, can't tell me what to do. I'm a space princess. And she says, trust me, Rex, if you go up there right now and I'm not with you to explain things, Thuja is going to be very, very, I can't promise she's not going to be very, very angry anyway. She is feistier than usual.
Rex remembers what the prince said, his subconscious prince, and he says, stay here, please. And says please for maybe the first time in 100 years.
Okay. So she kind of like, she's like taken aback a little bit, and she nods and she's like, fine. And she turns back and goes over to the switch and goes inside the prefab.
Okay, cool.
So as you and Virgil begin to climb up the shale mountainside, we see like an eruption kind of off of the side, and like blue goop like pours down beside you, and Virgil says to you, he's like, who was that woman? You two know each other. What's her deal?
Yeah, she's no one.
He shakes his head. I'm not stupid, Rex.
Oh, no, but you sure do like to keep a lot of secrets, don't you? So I'll keep mine. How about that?
And he scowls. He's like, fine. It doesn't matter anyway. All that matters is that bounty.
Rex reaches like, are we climbing up a mountain?
Yeah, it's a very steep incline. You're kind of like walking, and there's like stuff falling down.
Okay. Rex reaches like a point where there's like a really thin ledge, and he's like, we can't share the same space. And he turns around and like throws his arm down. He's like, give me a hand, I'll hoist you up.
Yeah, right. Because I think this is fair. It's reasonable based on the scene that there would be a time where you climb up, and there's obviously no other way up except for him to climb. And we see he looks up at you, and there's like mountain spouting, and you reach down towards him, sort of through the smoke. And he holsters his gun, and he looks up at you. And let's have you roll. You're trying to be sneaky here. He's trying to be careful. He's not that good at being careful. This is a good flip. If you can beat him, he'll trust you enough to like grab your hand. You can pull him up.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead and roll, and we'll see if. Okay. So you got a 1 on your sneaky.
Okay. I'm going to use what's yours is mine as well, though, for a +2.
Okay. All right. All right, so you beat him by 1, and so he like jumps up a little bit, grabs your wrist, and you grab his, and then what happens?
The camera zooms in on Rex's face, and you see like a wry grin, and as Rex hoists him up, he rips his mask off with his other hand and eats him.
All right, so I'm gonna give him a last word before, and then you can decide if you want to finish him.
Okay.
So you grab him, start pulling him up towards you. He sees you grab your mask. He's a sharkanoid. He knows how this shit goes. And he's like, "Wait, Rex, no, Do you want to let him finish the sentence? Or you want to eat him?"
I'm gonna eat him.
Okay, perfect. He's like, "I'm your breakfast." So you just grab him and you just like bite his face and like shove the rest of him in your mouth, and and then we just see you like from behind, and there's like the sound of grinding and chewing as you eat Virgil the shark boy.
You guys don't be evil, please.
All right. So so we just see you stand up, and like the front of you is all covered in blood.
Yeah. He just starts making his way back down the mountain to the princess.
All right. I think before you get a chance, because you're quite high up, I think that this is where, and actually it's perfect. So you stand up, you're covered in blood, and you go to turn to leave, and we see menacingly in the background, we see Thuja. She's like coming down from the mountain, so she's got this like backpack on and a big tall like dark like staff that she's using to kind of like keep her footing. And we see her, and she's got her hood up and her cloak flapping, and she pulls her hood back when she sees you, and she's got this murderous look in her eyes, like, "Oh fuck no, not you! You are toast! How dare you!"
Rex,
so you spot her, and she sees you. What do you do?
Rex is like ignoring her and just looking through Virgil's stuff to find out who the fuck sent him, and was it the casino guy and all this stuff. He's like super paranoid about it.
Right. Okay. So does Rex actually? We see her, but does Rex see her?
No, Rex doesn't see her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Rex is hunched down, like looking through the stuff, and then we look behind, and we can see Thuja's like sneering angrily,
like a Sith Lord behind me.
Yeah, totally. There's a flash of blue lightning, and she's just like, "Ah!" And that's when we cut to the Commodore, who's just finished his arrogant clapping and is standing atop the throne.
Literally, nothing could be worse than our own crew.
Right?
Terrible people. Just terrible people.
And so we see him, and you've just dispatched all his men, and he says to you, he's like, "I knew you'd betray us eventually, Quinn. Why do you think I gave you that uniform? Why do you think I allowed you to move through the ship? I was waiting for this moment. This is all going according to plan." And he looks down at you and he says, "So what? You're going to climb up here? And for what? Is this what you want?" And he takes the scepter out of his belt and is holding it in his hands. And he kind of like turns it and he says, "I've been studying it, and I think I've had some success where you and your friends failed." And he kind of like snaps it, and it starts to glow with this like strange red light. And you can see there's little like arcs of lightning jumping onto his arm and like up on his body, and his eyes are like glowing red a little bit. And he says, "It's a truly powerful artifact, and I've only unlocked a tiny fragment of its power." And he's like staring down at you as he kind of like glows with this red light. What do you say?
Quinn just stares up at him and is like, "That belongs in my pants."
Nice. He says to you, "If you think you're worthy of it, come and get it."
Oh.
Of course I have to.
All right.
So I do like a lunge run up this ridiculously what appeared to be a normal sized throne before, but now it takes a considerable amount of effort to climb.
Right. So yeah, you hunch down and like get your claws out and start running up towards him, and we see him roar, and somehow with one hand he grabs his entire uniform and like tears it off. And he has like a little like sting kind of underpants situation underneath, and like he's huge and like somehow like kind of oily and like really
super ripped and oily. Yeah, absolutely.
Incredibly ripped and oily. His Fabio body suddenly reveals, and he tears his entire uniform and throws it aside. And yeah, he's standing there holding the scepter, and we see Baron Marduk looking up at the scepter because he's never seen it in real life, and he's like shrieks at the top of his lungs with rage as you run up towards him, and the Commodore like awaits your arrival at the pedestal to meet with him in combat. So what does that look like? You're running up the pedestal, you throw yourself at him. What happens?
Oh, there's like clearly it's Quinn running up the slant of this pedestal. In the background is just like star fields.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. And then he does a lunge at this guy and his scepter.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna try. This sounds like forceful. Go ahead.
Imagine this guy is incredibly powerful. We'll find out.
Okay, got 5. All right, so he meets you with equal force. So as you throw yourself at him, he brings the scepter up. It flashes with the red light and comes flying down towards you. And he's just trying to like hit you and knock you back as you fly towards him. So here comes that forceful roll. See how it goes. Oh, it's a tie. All right, do you want to spend a fate point on it, or do you want to take the tie? I mean, if the tie is the most anime thing that could happen, because you just smash into each other and there's a huge flash of light and like no one goes anywhere.
Obviously, it's a tie.
Yeah,
for dramatic effect, it clearly must be a tie.
Right. Yeah. So you crash into him, and the two of you kind of like meet in between as the scepter slams into your arms. And now you're up on this platform. I guess you're just below him on the stairs, and so he's got the scepter down, as lightning flying everywhere off of it. It's very dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it like goes all over the room. It hits the big view screen, and it starts to like fizzle things. Oh yeah, it's terrifying. All of the people in the background who once before were like, "Huh," are now like, "Yeah." It's horrible. Okay.
All right. So he's going to So he slams into you. He lifts one hand, and the lightning all kind of crawls up his arm, and covers his fist in a sort of Green Lantern-esque like globe weapon of red force, and he swings it down towards you to punch you in your body.
Oh, I want. Let's go full. If we're gonna go full anime, we're going full Dragon Ball. I just want to grab his fist with. Oh no, I want to punch his fist.
Yeah.
Fists collide. Yeah.
So I got a 5.
I got a 5. Fists collide. Fists collide.
So perfectly evenly matched. So I think what happens is, it comes flying down. You thrust up your fist. The magic energy fist and yours smash into each other. The energy cocoon around his fist shatters, and we see the view screen of the ship like crack. And everyone in the background is just like, there's fear. There's an alarm that starts to go off, like structural damage, and like the ship is like slowly blowing apart around you.
Absolutely, of course it is.
All right, so it's your turn. So you've blocked his fist with your fist. What do you want to do?
I want to lunge at him with my teeth, since our fists are both like.
Right. I figure you've got his wrist in one hand where he has the scepter, and then you've punched fists, and you're gonna try to like lunge for him with your face. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Oh.
Okay. Oh. All right. So you lunge forward to try to bite him, snap your jaws, and he leaps back, trying to move quickly out of the way, which I suspect he probably does. Yeah.
All right, so, I'll let him get away.
Yeah, so he doesn't exactly even like leap back. He just kind of slides back away from you, leaving two kind of DeLorean style fire trails on the ground as he like flies backwards, and the aura of energy flickering around him kind of like expends out behind him, and now you're several meters apart. He brings the scepter in his hand together and like claps in front of him, and a beam of energy flies out towards you. So here comes the attack. What do you do?
Beam
of terrifying red crackling
beam of terrifying energy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. Man. I guess I need. I would imagine this would either be quick. I guess this would have to be quick. I can't forcefully just be like, "Oh shit!" I have to, for anime's sake. I have to go like, "Yeah," and like block it.
Right.
Oh shit!
Yes, yes,
No
yes.
dodging. No dodging. I block it because I can apparently now block beam weapons.
It doesn't matter. You can totally do it.
Fuck it. Yes, of course.
So yeah, the beam is flying towards you. It's a full like it's your whole body inside. Like just this blasting pure beam of energy. You just cross your hands in front of you and it hits you. And let's see what happens. Oh yeah, no problem. All right, so you.
it has to be one of those things where I go to block it and it does that like beam anime vaporizing thing. But after it's done, I'm just like still there, like, what up, bitch? Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you defend and you succeed with style, you get a boost too. So I think what happens is like the beam blasts you, and some of the energy kind of like clings to you a little bit. It's responding to your like anger, and so it's like flickering all over you.
Oh, now
It
my
like
scales...
envelops you, and then like one of the henchmen's like, no person could have survived that blast. And then like as the smoke clears, you're like still there, like, oh.
So I would absolutely love for the other 3 players in this game to participate in the scene as the like, because there is an audience, right? There's all the the officers. So yes, feel free every time something happens to jump in if you have something to say. Yeah, exactly. No mere mortal could survive that blast. Awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and you can tell me if you have a better idea for this thing, but I would like to suggest that your boost is called No Mere Mortal.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
No, my scales now, the tips of my scales now glow of neon pink.
Yeah,
I have his power.
Sure. Yeah, and there's like smoke coming out of your mouth.
This is
So
you're the lead actor now.
and then
Shit's
and
over.
then
It's over.
he pulls the scepter away, which flames sort of lick and dance off of it, and he stares as the smoke clears, and then he sees you, and we see the kind of like, huh? Like he kind of like leans back a little bit, like looks down at you and snarls, and he says, no matter, you haven't begun to see the true power of this weapon. And like holds it over his head, and it dramatically lightning and what have you. It is your turn though. So what do you do?
I charge forward and go to like punch him right in his gut, like just a hard punch. So I do like one of those like I'd like come at him like that.
Okay, sure. All right, so go ahead and roll. All right.
5s. This is gonna be rough. This is gonna be a rough fight.
Okay. So I think he's gonna try to dodge out of the way. He tries to move quickly, tries to do like a sudden side juke. And let's see what I get. Ooh, a 4. All right. So you don't hit him full force. You're just gonna do him one damage. But what does that look like? You don't hit him, but you like clip him.
I imagine, man, does he have any other armor or anything, or is he just completely bare naked except for a weird thong?
Yeah, he's just got like a kind of weird foam rubber underpants thing. Somebody managed to tear his boots off when the rest of his clothes, like it was like a onesie that looked like an admiral's uniform. Yeah, like he's otherwise just gold and naked, and his long flowing hair kind of flapping in the wind that's coming from God knows where, somewhere.
So I go to swing and he does that dodge, and it's like a cool ass ninja dodge where he's like, whoa, 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 and he like dodges out of the way, and then it looks like I missed. Then it cuts to him and he's got like a bloody scratch on his shoulder.
Yeah, like, no, I like that. I like that. So yeah, what happens is he does the weird dodge where you punch and suddenly he's like splits into like 6 different mirror images, like, and he punches, and then we see him and he looks at you smugly like he's like, ha, and he like coughs and like blood goes like down his cheek and he like wipes it off, and he sneers at you. He's like, you're going to have to do better than that, and I think that he points the scepter up. He holds it up, and lightning jumps off of it, and chunks of the ceiling of the ship start falling on you. So they just like start collapsing down on you. So let's see. This is a clever attack. He's gonna use the environment.
I'm a little Mangasi cadet who's just joined the force, and I come around the corner like I'm really excited about the day, and then I go, oh man, I should have stayed in bed.
You just like
I'm gonna be the Yajirobe of this fight. Oh man! I hope they don't see me.
It's like you've
Then
never
hide
seen a
around the
red
corner.
alert before. You don't know. You're like, well, ship's looking okay, I guess.
Like the roof's being ripped apart.
Oh boy.
Oh, jeez.
I'm
That's
like at
new.
the console. I'm like a super sweaty, like pink alien at the console. I'm like, the ship's at 12% stability.
Right. Like, doesn't anyone realize the ship's being
We're all
destroyed?
gonna die.
Right, you're the only alien that even notices that they're
Yeah.
blowing up the ship around them. All right, so I got a 4. Go ahead and defend. So how do you defend from the pieces? You're just gonna like knock them aside?
Yeah. So as they come down, I just sort of like push them aside.
Yeah.
But what happens is they all like crumble on top of me because clearly I suck at that roll.
Mhm.
They all and like I'm just rubble is all over me, and it's like he finally beat me, and then I want to use my no mere mortal, and like do one of those rubble burst throughs like yeah.
Right, of course. Yeah. So
It's like no, I
I
ain't
mean,
done
he
yet.
even has that moment of like, ha 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 ha. You see, everyone, just a pathetic. Wait, what? As you burst out of the zone, it's like chunks of rock fall all over the place, and yeah, and now you're standing there, and there's bits of ship. This is where if you pause the scene on the Blu-ray, you can see that like they're obviously styrofoam. These pieces, like a rock bounces and kind of drifts away. And and he looks at you and he sneers like, "What? How dare you?" But you've got the momentum. Go ahead and make your attack.
I jump out of the rubble and lunge at him like, oh yeah.
Right. So we get the shot of you kind of like flying through the air with the lines flying behind
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
You hurl yourself towards this golden god. Go ahead and go ahead and make your roll.
So dumb.
All right, you got a 5. All right. So as you come flying towards him, I think what he does is he grabs like an officer nearby and like throws them in the way.
Oh,
So
no.
he's gonna defend with sneaky.
It's Duger's character. Like, what's going on up here, boss?
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and spend my point to bring that up to a 5. And so he sees you. You're like flying towards him, and he's like, "Serve the Empire!" and grabs a nearby officer and like throws him at you. You crash into him in midair. Unless you spend a point, you won't hurt him on this one.
No. The officer explodes into a fine dust, like a red mist, and I land on the ground like, ugh.
Okay,
And, like,
so
particles of officer float down around me.
right, some kind of like a memorial medal of honor just kind of like drifts to the ground. Awesome. All right. So I think that we cut to Sam's like little pink alien, and you just get showered with blood, like just like sprayed as you're sitting at the console, and your screen gets all covered in blood.
My alien, he's like, that's it, I quit. I'm sick of this. I quit.
Awesome. And maybe you turn to get up, and we see another officer, like a Mingasi, kind of like stiff upper lip, like he's got giant sideburns, and he looks down at you, and he puts his hand on his pistol, his officer's pistol, and he shakes his head and he says, "Stay at your console." Meanwhile, the Commodore Visan, he's holding the scepter, and I think he holds it out at arm's length, and we see 2 like big kind of bat wings of like red energy spring up out of his back, and they shoot like knives of energy fire at you, just like a cluster of them fly towards you. So I've got a 6. Oh boy, here comes the fire knives. What are you gonna do?
God, I can't roll anything else but forceful to beat a 6. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
You could like grab a really heavy piece of metal or something to block it. That's still strength.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. From the like crappy like the floorboard, like the metal floor itself.
You like
You just like rip a chunk of the floor up. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Just like pull it back to defend myself.
Like tear up the floor. I love too that like you were saying, like the perspective on the scene somehow is like totally fucked, because it used to be the top of this pedestal was just the chair, but somehow there's this
giant
like
battlefield
massive
now.
space for you to fight on. So you reach down and just like rip the floor up. All right, let's see how it goes. Roll forceful. You got a 4. Do you want to take that 2 hit, or do you want to spend one of your points?
I will take that 2 hit.
Okay. All right, so you've taken your two stress box. All right, it's your turn. So you've pulled up the wall. I think some of the fire knives tear through the floor and tear at your flesh, burning your blood. And we can see you starting to kind of like breathe hard, and there's blood dripping off of you.
Oh, it infuriates Quinn, and he pulls up the rest of the floorboard and just chucks it at this dude.
Okay, cool. Tear off the piece, hurl it sharp end towards him. Okay. All right. So he brings the scepter up, and a bubble of red energy like flips up around him, and let's see how he does. I get a 7. No dice. It just evaporates the floor, and we see more like when it hits, more of this lightning like leaping out, and the screen continues to crack. Chunks of computer are like blowing up, and the camera is like shaking hard, and everybody. I think we can see now some of the officers being like, "We need to get the hell out of here! Like, let's go." And we see like a group of them like sneaking off, trying to go to the evacuation pods as you and the Commodore tear the ship apart. Meanwhile, Baron Marduk is standing below.
What is that ass doing? He's like, oh!
Yeah, basically, he's just like caught in a religious rapture, right? Because he's watching you fight, and he's seeing the scepter, and he's just like paralyzed in terror and religious fear. So I guess it's my turn. So the Commodore, he blocks your debris that you throw at him. Oh, I know what he does. So it hits the bubble, and he points at you with the scepter, and from it, lines of this sort of red flickering like fire leaps out, and they try to grab your wrists, and, like lift you off the ground, so he can slam you into the dirt.
Damn,
What
he got
is this
laser
dude
hands.
into?
Yeah. So I think this is just him throwing you around. But he only got a 3 this time.
Yeah, I want if those laser tendrils can grab me, I want to grab the laser tendrils and pull him towards me.
Okay, perfect. Of course you can.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Oh!
Chat has a good idea. I like this. I like the idea of like a scene change. Like you throw him so hard he goes through a wall or the floor into a different room of the ship.
Fighting game style.
Yeah, that's so good. I love it. So
you guys
get
end up in like the boiler/engine room.
yeah. So Quinn, you get a boost. I'll add a new scene aspect for wherever you end up. I'll let you decide. But so you get a new boost, or you can just recharge No Mere Mortal. I kind of like that idea. And you get 2 boosts on it because you beat it by so much.
Yeah. Let's recharge that.
So No Mere Mortal is charged up by 2, and where do we end up? He lunges out at you. The grabby hands, the sticky hands of fire leap out. They try to grab you. You grab them, and then narrate your change of scene.
So as I fling him behind me, and he just goes flying through the bridge walls, and then all of a sudden, because I'm still attached to the things, I get sucked with him, like back through.
Right.
And we both start tumbling a ridiculously long time, and then explode out onto the hangar bay deck.
Nice.
And now we're fighting as like guys are trying to leave, and the ship's like crumbling.
Yeah,
We're
the
like,
background.
"Oh!" Yeah.
Totally. The like mid ground in the background here are, I'm imagining like big 2 big spaceships, the red light flashing. There's like a tech officer that runs by in the background every 2 or 3 minutes, and then a couple of like people like in like tank tops and like flight pants, kind of like watching, and like someone's got their foot up on a box, like they're watching you fight in the background as the 2 of you like tumble out into this scene, and he flies back, and now he has this halo of fire. and it's just floating off the ground. He isn't even walking around. He's just kind of flying back and forth as the thing kind of like burns its aura around him. And the scene aspect here, we'll just call it Imperium Hangar Bay. And nobody gets any boosts off of it, but you can use it to trigger any boost any reroll or +2 based on the fact that you're in the hangar bay. So you can incorporate that. So you hurl him through the wall. He like tumbles down, picks himself up, and then floats up off the ground. It's your turn to attack. What are you gonna do? You have 2 free boosts available to you and your 2 fate points.
I want to grab one, like a canister, some sort of fuel canister, and just chuck it at him.
Right, so you just there's this stuff all over the place. There's a big blue kind of glass.
Using the environment. It's to my advantage.
Okay, so you grab it, pick it up over your head, and get ready to throw it at him. But before you do, we are due a break. So we'll come back and we'll see how the thrown fireball goes when we return. Stick around. We got more RollPlay Nebula Jazz coming at you in just a minute.